Hi everybody, it's crazy, it's Monday, and it's time for the UPBGE video week. Now, before I get started, guess what? You get to see my ugly mug again. Got me a little, partial green screen until I can finally get my green screen up. And I'm going to be working with UPBGE 0.2.5b. Now, the only reason why is because I want to go with a little bit, fresher version of UPBGE. I was working in 0.2.0, but I'm trying out, 0.2.5. It seems to work a little bit better, and they've got it really smoothed out now. That doesn't have a lot of the problems that it used to have. So before I get started, I'm going to give a shout out to my trusted, because you guys rock, to my crazy fam, I love you guys, and to my patrons, thank you for your continued support. Now, last week we left off with, let me see if I can bring it up right, yay! Okay, we left off with ray sensors. I ended there because my time ran out. We're going to continue on again today with rays. So, the ray sensor can only cast rays in a specific axis relative to the object, and as far as the determined range distance go. Although it may seem limiting, this makes it the fastest physics sensor available. Now, I'm going to switch on over to my studio there. Okay, so this ray sensor right here, okay, of course you have the same things you have on every other one, but you can go by properties, okay? And what it's talking about, it's limited to the object, is right here. If the object's negative z-axis and you want it to react to the floor, you want to cast a ray to the floor, you're going to have to go on the negative z-axis, not the negative y. Negative y would be this way, so anything behind it, okay? Well, that one actually would be anything in front of it. So you can actually use that to, cast a ray out to find stuff. Pretty cool stuff. But if you want to do, you want to recognize the ground, because say you got terrain that you want your character to run on, but you don't want him floating over it, like a ghost, So you would want to have him recognize the ground and throw a ray to the ground to find out its distance from the ground. Because if you got your character way up here when you first start, it's got to find the ground, and once it makes contact with it, your range will do that. It says, 0.0, okay, 0.01 would be, right up next to it. So, and it also goes from this median, okay, this median here, the distance from that median to the ground, and there's a 1 meter or 1 blender unit from that to the bottom, depending on what your size of your character is. You'll have to find out what your center point is and then go from there. All right, so that you would put here, and you would actually add a little bit because you want to make sure that it is actually recognizing the ground. Because if you do it at exactly 1 meter, it's going to be right at that bottom line, so it won't sense only to that point. So you at least want to put it to like 1, 2, or in some cases 3. You want it to pass through the floor to make sure that it is reaching the floor, because when your character jumps, you're going to come off the ground. So when you do come off the ground, something will happen. Okay, there's a lot of things you can do with the ray sensor. It's really cool. Okay, all right, in order to get more data from a casted ray, you can access the sensor from a Python controller. The API allows you to access hit object, hit position, and hit normal. Okay, so you can actually put in a Python controller, and up here you can create a type of collision that says, okay, if you hit the object, okay, then it doesn't. So if you hit the ground, that means you're going to do something. That means your character will stop moving, or, you hit the position, or you hit position of ground, that means it lets it know, hey, you hit ground, you can now do this, okay? Or you can hit the normal side of the face. If you don't hit the normal side of the face, that means your character can't go past it, or will go past it, doesn't matter, yeah, it depends on what you want to do. Okay, so that's ray sensors. Okay, if X-ray mode is on, the ray will only stop when hitting an object with the property or material specified. Okay, so when you have, if you have X-ray mode on, that's this right here. Okay, that's showing that X-ray mode is on. It will activate only by the property or the material. So, say you wanted the property or the material to be the same as this, so you would put in that ground. Okay. So you would use this material, ground. Okay, or if you wanted to use property, you would actually have to come over to this and put in a property called ground, and then in here you would type in ground. Okay, so that way, whenever your character on the negative z axis hits the ground, okay, hits that property, then it will do something from that point. So you say when you hit ground, your character can now move. So whenever your character jumps, and you, like you say, for example, you hit spacebar, your character won't continue running in the air. Okay, makes sense? All right, stuff like that helps out with character animations and stuff like that. You can actually stop an animation from a character doing the jump, or all kinds of other things. Ray sensors are really good sensors to have. Okay. All right. So property or yeah. Okay. Otherwise, it will stop when the first object returns none in case of a non-match. So if you don't have this on, the first property that it hits, okay, or first object that it hits, excuse me, then it's going to stop doing. It's going to stop, casting because it's already hit what it wanted to hit. Okay. Most of the time, people put on X-ray mode because of the fact that they want it to hit more than one object. Especially if you got something in front or behind or beside you. Those right there are ones that you want it to continue to go on to sense stuff, to cast that ray to find out, like kind of like a flashlight. And a flashlight is another one you can use the ray sensor with. Okay, so let's see. Now let's go on to randoms. Okay, so now we got the ray out the way. Let's go on up here to random. Okay, the random sensor generates pulses randomly. Go figure. Okay, its use is so generic that it is misleading to define one specific application for it. You can change the seed property to produce pseudo-random pulses. Okay, it's your seed property right here. Okay, when the seed is 0, it works as a regular always switch. So in other words, when it's set to 0, it's going to always trigger. It's going to always give a random whatever, random number, random set of coordinates, random set of something. Whatever you connect this to, it's going to offer a random sequence. Okay, now you can put your seed in, okay, to get a certain amount of random pulses. Say you want 5 pulses of random. So it would go 5 pulses and then stop. 5 pulses, then stop. Okay? Do not use it randomly. Use the random sensor together with other sensors to add an organic dynamic to them. It's especially useful for environmental behavior and artificial intelligence, AI. So when you want a character, like say an NPC to notice you and run, okay, this random will give it 3 choices. It either fights you, it runs from you, or it hides from you. Give you good 3 random choices, and those 3 random choices will continue to go randomly until it says them. So as it comes up to you, it says, okay, you're going to run. Okay, so that's what he's going to do. And then next time you come into where that character is, he's going to try to fight you. Or he may hide and try to shoot at you from behind cover. See, random can do a lot of things, okay? It's especially useful for environmental behavior and artificial intelligence. Okay, next one is the message. Now, I found out a little bit more about the message sensor because I've been playing with it a little bit. The only reason why is because I was trying to get a little terrain idea going. And, I read this one where it says you can send a message to other parts, to other scenes and stuff like that to actually get it to work. And that's exactly what this does. Okay, so let me read on about that one because this is kind of important. The message sensor receives a message sent from a message actuator from a Python or from a Python controller. A game object will receive any message sent specifically to it or broadcast to all the objects. To achieve another level of control, you can use the optional subject field to filter the message of a particular subject, not triggering it otherwise. Take a look at the message actuator for a longer explanation. So that will be later on when we talk about the actuators. Okay, so when you set up a message actuator on, say, your ground here, let's scoot over there. I'll get more in depth with this actuator, but see, message. Okay, you put a subject, ground. Okay, so whenever this one hits ground, and see, we'll just broadcast it, it's got an always sensor on it. So whenever, ground is there, it's going to send a message saying ground. So when this message sensor becomes like an always switch, but it does it every time it receives that message. But you will have to turn on a pulse mode if you want it to continue to do like an always. But this one just sends a message saying, hey, there's ground here. Since this word ground came through, you can do it by making, you know, the ground move underneath them, so that way they have a hard time. Like, if you ever played a game where it has like the shaking effect, you know, and it doesn't do it anywhere else but just right there, that's a message sensor. It's a message saying, hey, shake here, shake the ground here, so that way your character dances around. You know, you can also make it, you know, on a camera and make the camera shake at a certain point. All kinds of stuff you can use the message sensor for. Okay. Extra message information. The extra information available in the message, subject, body, can be accessed only by a Python controller. Okay, that's the actuator. We haven't gotten to the actuators yet. Right now we're only on sensors. But they all work in the same way. This actuator here is sending a message, and you can do it, say, hey, you're telling the cube that. Okay, so every time the cube, whenever a cube gets the ground information, it does something. Okay, and you got body and text and so on and so forth you can put in there, but that's later on. We're not going to worry about that right now. We're going to continue on with sensors. Okay, where am I at on time? We got 11 minutes. I got about 4 more minutes before I can end this. So let's go ahead and quickly go into the property. Oh, and you know what? The properties tab is a good one to do because properties are a big thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and actually leave it right there at that. Let's see. There we go. I'm going to leave it there at that, and we're going to go ahead and finish up with it next week on properties, so that way you know that this one's going to be a good one, because like I said, properties are a big one in Logic Bricks, so I'm going to save that one for next week. So that's it for today. You know, I never say like, subscribe, blah, 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 so don't worry about that. You'll never, half the time you won't hear that, because I think that's kind of ridiculous. If somebody likes it, cool, like it. If you don't like it, or don't even do anything. You know, if you want to subscribe to my channel, that's awesome. I love people who, you know, like to carry on the same way I carry on with learning stuff. If you know, want to get notifications, click that little bell. If you don't worry about it. I rarely ever click the notification bell, because if I, you know, go to check one of my videos that I like to watch, I just go to their channel and then I look on their channel. You know, I don't need to have it right then and there. But, you know, I do one every Monday, so you can always come to my channel and just look. But all the people who have subscribed, thank you very much. You guys are awesome. You know, it doesn't give me anything to have subscribers, but it's nice to have them. And I applaud y'all for, you know, hey, coming on my channel and taking a look. So we'll see y'all next week.